going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm bringing you a video for a discussion that I have been wanting to talk about for quite some time, and this is just one of the cold hard truths about Dark Magician that I have come to realize over the course of playing this deck throughout the past year. What's going on, Dark Magical community, and welcome back to the channel. I would like to start this off by saying thank you everyone for being here, and I do appreciate all of my viewers and my subscribers, and thank you all for following me on my Yu-Gi-Oh journey. So, just like I introduced you earlier, we're going to be talking about the differences between the pure slash different variants of Dark Magician, and then the deck that is Invoked Dragoon, and why, in my opinion, I do believe that Invoked Dragoon is just simply the superior to pure Dark Magician. So without further ado, we're going to dive into this and get into some discussions and show you guys some things that have been on my mind for quite some time. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to go over is we are going to look at both of these decks, and we're going to kind of compare them card for card and just see some of the key differences that these strategies are similar in and some of the ways that they are different. So starting off, this is the Dogmatika Dark Magician build that I played at the last case tournament that I went to a few weeks ago, and I'll kind of get into the overview of how that went and what I thought about this deck. So basically, this is very standard for Dark Magician. We played 3 Ash, Dark Magician Girl, one of each of the Dogmatikas, 1 Ecclesia, 1 Fleur-de-Lis, 1 Maximus. We also played 3 Rod, 3 Souls, double Dark Magician, 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon, 1 Call by the Grave, double Circle, the 1 Illusion Magic, which I'll also get back into, 1 Magicalized, 1 Salvation, 3 Nadir, 3 Ref, 1 Secrets, 1 Hornet Drones, and 1 Engage, 3 Soul Servant, 2 Punishments, 2 Eternal Souls, 1 Navigation, we'll also touch upon this, and 1 Schism. And in the extra deck, we played the 1 Apkallone, the 1 Winda, double Intis, 1 Chimera Rafflesia, double Dragoon, 1 The Dark Magicians, 1 Titanic Lad, 1 Artemis, 1 Link Spider, 1 Predaplant, 1 Kagari, 1 Kaina, and 1 Farrajet. So, basically, this is the overview for the case tournament. When this deck was able to actually see the cards it needs to see, I actually felt very confident in this deck. I felt as if, even though I was definitely playing against decks that were inherently better, such as stuff like Invoke DPE, Sky Striker, things of that nature, that the deck does have enough power cards to be able to consistently keep up. The biggest thing that upset me with this deck was just, I can't even say that this was even bricks as much as the luck was just awful almost all day long. We rarely ever saw Red Eyes Fusion. I think I saw this card 1 time out of 6 rounds. We never hard drew this card but 1 time. We would almost always draw Dark Magician Girl. We would almost always draw Red Eyes Black Dragon. Any of these one-ofs that you just never want to see. We'd almost always open 1 Dark Magician. Like, I can remember a game where I opened up Dark Magician Girl, Red Eyes, with like a circle and something else. And the only saving grace I had, I did win that game, was because I circled into Secrets and made the Dark Magicians and just fixed my hand. Because I got to draw again that turn, and I got to draw on their turn. That was the only reason why I was able to play that game. And most of the time, a lot of people don't even include this card. And I keep finding myself in these situations that should never come up, where this card is actually just incredible. And by design, I've never liked this card since day 1. But I do feel like it has its times when you just have to play it. Verde Anaconda was almost always negated almost every single time. I did not summon Dragoon until round 4. It never hit the field. At this time, I've actually been to 2 case tournaments. This is the first one, speaking of which now. I was borrowing my friend Korey's Starlight Dragoon, which is now mine, thankfully, so shoutouts to you, bro. And this card never got to even hit the field up until like round 4. Very, very sad. Like I said, we just never saw Red Eyes Fusion. Our Predaplant was almost always negated. The games we won purely off of like just playing Dogmatika grind out with Eternal Soul to bring back Dark Magician. So the Schism play never happened a single time. Every time I was using Nadir's Servant, I either already had this in my hand, or my hand was so awkward I had to do something to be able to like send Chimera to have a power play for the next turn, or to send Farrajet to be able to kind of fix my hand, or sometimes send Titaniclad. So very, very odd hands. Like I can't even say wholeheartedly like brick hands, like just very strange hands, like drawing like 3 rods one round. One round I drew 3 Soul Servants. Normally I almost always define bricking as you just have too many cards that just don't do anything. But this was just like a case of just drawing cards in just multiple quantities that are just hard once per turn activations almost all day long. So like the combo that I was playing was basically like you would Rod into Illusion Magic, you would link the Rod into Artemis, you'd Illusion Magic. If you only had Maximus here, if you had Nadir here, then you could do things like Nadir, send, search Ecclesia, summon Ecclesia, search the Maximus. Then you Illusion Magic off the Artemis, search the 2, and then banish the Artemis to summon Maximus. So it's a very cool in-way in your engine to be able to summon Maximus. Obviously, the Striker package can kind of do that as well. But this was very cool, and this did actually work a lot. One highlight I would like to talk about with this card is playing against Trap Deck. When I was going to, like the one time I was actually able to activate Red Eyes Fusion, I actually drew Red Eyes Fusion, Rod, Illusion Magic. So I said if for some reason I summon here and they activate IDP and they target my Dark Magician and I negate with Dragoon and they strike it, I just lose the game almost entirely. So the way I was actually able to play through that was I started my turn by setting the Rod first, then activating Red Eyes Fusion, it resolves, and then I summoned Dragoon. Now, they didn't have Ice Dragon's Prison, but I had Illusion Magic in my hand. So if they had IDP and they go, I'll activate Ice Dragon's Prison, I wouldn't negate with Dragoon. I would just simply chain Illusion Magic, tributing off the set Magician's Rod, because this does tribute for cost. It doesn't tribute upon resolution, so it does not care if the monster is face up or face down as long as it is a spellcaster. And I would simply add back the Dark Magician from my graveyard that was being targeted by IDP and 1 from deck, have 2 in hand, and therefore the Ice Dragon's Prison would not do anything. So I did like having this card, and that's also why I chose to play Magician's Navigation, was because there were so many ways you were going to almost always have this card in your hand, and I did resolve this card a lot. And I don't like this card. I totally just deter people from ever playing Magician's Navigation, and I honestly am just flabbergasted that I would even play it in my deck myself. But playing these 2 cards in Tangent, I've always thought was pretty decent, and it did work out. Don't know if I'd play it again. But all in all, I did like the deck, but the deck does seem like it significantly just lacks in a lot of areas. It seems like a lot of the wins that you get are just luck of the draw wins. Like, I'll activate Ref, pray they don't have Ash. Oh, they have Ash. Okay, I can't do much after. They don't have Ash. Okay, sweet, I have Dragoon. Obviously, this is what I built my channel around. This is my favorite deck I've ever played. I love this deck. It's so much fun. I do feel as if I've just hit a metaphorical wall with this deck that I just can't do anything with, unfortunately, until Battles of Chaos comes out next year. Or, yes, next year, technically. Very soon, but, so, after this case tournament, and I went to another one a few weeks later, I did change a few things in the list. It was very similar to this list, and it's kind of the same thing. Most of the games I won by, like, Dogmatika beatdown with Dark Magician. That case tournament, I did see Red Eyes Fusion more, so my win ratio was more. Just because, I mean, you have to admit, for Dark Magician, this is our best card. If you haven't figured that out already, and you're still thinking this is the best card, unfortunately, it is not. This is the best card. This is a Dark Magician support card. People say, I don't like this card, it's overpowered, whatever. That's fantastic that Dark Magician has an archetype overpowered card, because we need it, because every card in the main deck is so underpowered, it's just ridiculous. It's almost to a point where, like, the deck's almost unplayable. Like, Rod is a good card, Souls is a good card. These 2 cards, by design, are very, very good. right? These cards, like this is a Stratos that recycles itself. It's similar to an Alistair, and this card was just designed to just be broken. Everything else is not very good. Circle, I almost don't want to play this card at all, and people can say whatever they want. This card does not do enough ever. In a perfect world, Circle would always take a card. The fact that this card takes Dark Magician or a Spell or Trap just makes this card just so much worse. Because Konami wants us to play Dark Magician Girl, right? They've heavily wanted us to play Dark Magician Girl. From this, to cards like this, to cards like this, cards like this. They want this in our decks, okay? Why does this not support Dark Magician Girl? Why does this not take Magician's Rod? Why does this not even take Magician of Dark Illusion that came out of the same set as this card? You can't take this, you can't take this, you can't even take this. You can take this, you can take this, but none of these cards do anything by themselves. At least circling into Rod does something, or circling into Souls would be able to summon a Dark Magician and banish a card. And like maybe it was because this card came out so many years before, but even so, Rod, Magician of Dark Illusion, and Circle all came out of the same set. It should have been able to take a card that had Dark Magician in the card text, 100%. Eternal Soul definitely shows its age. The effect to blow up all your monsters is just, that's so dated. I don't even know why that even has this stipulation on this card. That might come up and help you 1 in 50 games. Like, you think about it, like you use Eternal Soul and Tangent with Rod to destroy like your own Verde Anaconda so they can't attack over it, and then like Zeus you on Dragoon. I've done that a few times, but 9 times out of 10, this is the first target people go after. Whenever I sit down and I play, they say, I don't know what any of your cards do, and I'm explaining, and I activate Eternal Soul, and they're like, oh, that's the one that destroys your whole board if it's destroyed, right? Leaves the field. And I'm like, yes. Everyone knows what this card does. You're not fooling anybody with this card anymore. This is what they're going to target. And I know in a perfect world, you have Dragoon on the field and, you know, it lives, but that's not always the case. You have times when you have to try to combo with this card, and it's hard to combo with this card because one back row destruction, one Phoenix Enforcer pop can equate to like a +3, 4, 5 for your opponent. So I actually don't like this card either. By pure design, I actually like this card better. I just wish it could went from deck or graveyard or hand, not just hand. But this card is actually designed better than this card is for 2022 standards. But unfortunately, I do have a lot of complaints with the deck, which is why I'm switching to something that is very similar to this deck in a lot of ways, but just accomplishes the job just so much better. And that deck is Invoked Dragoon. This is the current build I have of this deck, and there are 6 slots. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about there can be only 1. I'm not sure about DD Crow. So these are just kind of placeholders for the moment. But you just look at what this deck does and how it does it. It's just so much more consistent and so much more powerful than Dark Magician. So like even on a bad hand, Alistair grab Invocation, Dark Magician, Red Eyes, make Dragoon. Alistair is just, obviously everyone knows what Alistair the Invoker does. It's the most annoying card in the game, right behind Magical Meltdown. Alistair plus random extender, so Alistair plus Souls, Alistair plus Instant Fusion, Alistair plus Korobane, Alistair plus Reborn. Alistair plus any of these cards is a Mechaba with a Dragoon. And in Dark Magician, 2 monsters equates to 1 Predaplant that's probably getting negated. So, at least in this build, Alistair is always going to be a 1-card Mechaba. It's always going to equate to a Mechaba first. So at least you have the chance to negate things that negate your Verde following that to make your Dragoon. Naturally, this deck does shine in its ability to have so many 1-card starters, such as essentially 8 copies, 9 copies of Meltdown, which equate to 9 copies of Alistair the Invoker, on top of playing the 3 Red Eyes fusions. Make it very easy to take advantage of stuff like Secret Village, Mystic Mind, Trickstar Light Stage, Set Rotation, Metaverse. All of these field spells you can take advantage because in the normal Dark Magician deck, these can break your hand, but in this deck, it's just so powerful because everything is a 1-card starter. Yes, you have 4 bricks in the deck, but every card in the Dark Magician deck is a brick without another card. Even if I draw Dark Magician, Red Eyes, double Meltdown, I still have 1 Mechaba. Not great, but I can still play the game. So this is what I mean when I say this deck is Dark Magician, but just better design. Like, I wish I could play this card in Dark Magician, because this card plus Souls is always Mechaba Dragoon. This card solves the issue of your Dragoon getting ran over, acting like a better Apprentice Illusion Magician. I mean, you can imagine doing things like fusion summoning a Dragoon with Meltdown on the field. On your own summon, you Eternal Soul back your own Dark Magician. You can just do so many things with Meltdown in the deck, but pure Dark Magician just doesn't have the room where this deck can just shine with this engine just so easily. You have all of these options that you can go into, and it honestly, in a lot of ways, makes me very sad that Dark Magician is not as good as this deck is. And we're going to go do some hand tests right now, so we're just going to go into solo mode. Okay, so here we are over on Duelingbook, and we're going to do first a few test hands with Invoked Dragoon. So starting right off the bat, we do notice that we did draw Red Eyes Black Dragon on top of the 2 DD Crows that I'm still not 100% sure on if I should even be playing or not. But the big ones are the fact that we still drew Terraforming and Red Eyes Fusion. So the way I would probably start this is I would Terraforming into Meltdown. Hope that they're just bad enough that they would just Ash the Meltdown, then I'll just immediately just punish them by Red Eyes Fusion. If you do end up just being able to summon the Mechaba with the Alistair in your hand, you should be able to live another turn to be able to activate Ref, because you will have the Mechaba interaction, the potential Honest effect of the Alistair, and the DD Crow ×2 to help you out with things. So test hand number 2. Once again, we have Alistair the Invoker in our hand. Remember when I went back and I was talking about how having Alistair plus any random extender equates to having Mechaba and Dragoon? Well, that's this hand, because you have not only have instant fusion, but you also have Korey. It is important with this hand to just remember the fact that you need to summon the Korey before you summon the Alistair, as she does require you to either have no monsters or only Trickstar monsters. This hand is probably the weakest hand I've seen so far, but you do have the Candina to search the Korey, to make the Verde, to potentially make the Dragoon with the Secret Village. If something happens, that plan falls through, we can set the Metaverse, and we can simply Metaverse into a Mystic Mine on their turn. On top of, if they stop us with a hand trap, like Ash Veiler, anything like that, we can use Tactics. Potentially draw more. So another great hand here. Oops, I guess I hit reset deck too many times. But we had Meltdown. Just like in this hand, we have Alistair the Invoker, and we also have Terraforming. So lots of options we can do here. We have Red Eyes Fusion. We have DD Crow. So what you're starting to see is just the fact that the deck inherently just has better cards than pure Dark Magician does. This hand here, we have Souls, Instant Fusion, and Alistair, and Ref. I mean, this is Mechaba plus Dragoon. Duelingbook is acting kind of strange, just being very slow. This hand, even being the worst hand we've seen, we still have a Mechaba plus a... There can be only one. Actually, we can get Mechaba and Dragoon because we set rotation and take the light stage. We can also... Let's see, so we actually won't be able to activate, but we can still get the Mechaba plus the... There can be only one. First, I was thinking if you took the light stage, then you play the Meltdown over the light stage, which you can't activate anything. But once again here, Alistair plus Extender. This hand, you actually could potentially have Mechaba, Dragoon, Secret Village. There can be only one, and you're not losing that game. Once again, we have Alistair in our hand. We have Ref. We have Mystic Mine if we're going second. You imagine like Mystic Mine, their field going second, Ref into Dragoon, pop everything, and then like Terraforming from their village, just play it over the Mystic Mine, and you just kill them. Drawing Dark Magician and Red Eyes really is just not a big deal in this build. We have the boy, we have Ali the Star again, we have Tactics, we have DD Crow, we have Monster Reborn. This hand is Mechaba plus Dragoon. once again, you're seeing the scheme here, just how consistent this deck really is in its goals. So we're going to switch to Dogmatika, Dark Magician now. We immediately notice just the change in tempo. We have different lines of play here that we could potentially go for, but nothing fantastic. So our best bet is going to be to ref first. Hope they don't stop it. Technically, you could Nadir Servant first, and if they ash it, then you can ref, but you really want to be able to get the Dragoon plus the Winda. So immediately in this hand, you have to think more than the others. Or you could summon the Ecclesia. This hand, the best thing we can really do with this hand is we can Rod for either Salvation or Eternal Soul. We can grab some Dark Magicians by attributing the Rod and have a circle interaction with a punishment. So, like, you don't have as many cards in this build that are searchable through your own engine. And then, like, I hate opening this because now this card does nothing. This card does nothing. I mean, you do have the Engage and the Call by the Grave, but that's not going to save you from impermanence. So, like, the awkward hands like these is just like what this deck does. And I wholeheartedly do believe that Dogmatika is the best build of Dark Magician, which isn't saying a lot because the deck really just falls behind so quickly. Like you see with the other build, I was putting up Mechaba Dragoon Secret Village almost every single hand, or Mechaba Dragoon in every hand, or at least one Mechaba every hand. And, you know, even a lot of times if all you can put up is one Mechaba, it can still be enough to keep you alive for the following turn. So, as much as I love Dark Magician, it just fails almost in every way to Invoke Dragoon. Invoke Dragoon is what Dark Magician really just should have been. Dark Magician should have had a card like Alistair that is easier to recycle than Magician's Rod is, unfortunately. But we're going to head back over into the deck construction part of Duelingbook, and we're going to discuss the deck a little bit more. This is what I mean by this argument, that even though we had some hands that were weird, we still could play. We could still have a chance to win the game. Where with this deck, like, this is a different build. With this deck, I feel like it needs another engine to be strong, but this engine also can lock you out of the extra deck, which really shouldn't matter, but it does come up where you're under punishment and you draw Red Eyes Fusion. I would love to be able to punishment for Chimera, search ref, then just play ref. Sometimes that is like my normal play with Maximus, actually. So like I'll Maximus the person, I'll send like Titanic Lad, send Chimera Rafflesia. In phase, I'll be able to search Fleur de Lis or Ecclesia into Floor. Down their turn, I'll search ref as a follow-up. But it's a lot of steps to take to get to the same place, where Invoked Dragoon just gets there just naturally, just so much easier than we have to work for it here. And there's things where, you know, like one instance where I was playing at the Case tournament, I got Maximus, I sent my Chimera, my Titanic Lad, and the guy has Aerial and just banishes both of them. You know, it was just very bad luck. But until Battles of Chaos does come out in February, I do think that this is going to be what I'm going to be committing the most time to testing. I do actually want to revisit this deck. This was one of the first builds of Dark Magician, which is essentially Dragoon deck. But I do want to revisit this, and you can see here where I've kind of been very loosely working on my build for YCS Vegas. If we get this set, currently that's my biggest fear. I want to play Dark Magician in Vegas, but I'm not going to play pure Dark Magician in Vegas unless we have these cards. I would just play Invoked Dragoon. So, yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that it makes sense to everyone. I hope that you're able to see the differences. And I understand people hate normal summon Alistair. I understand. I hate it. I think it's very cheesy. It's very autopilot. It's very, anyone can play it. But there's no denying that it is a good engine. And compiled with all of these other cards in this deck, Mechaba Dragoon Secret Village should just win you games. Mechaba Dragoon there can be only one. Mechaba, there can be only one. Dragoon, Secret Village. Dragoon, there can be only one. All of these combinations of cards should just be able to just win you games that, you know, you just wouldn't be able to win in pure Dark Magician. Things like, this actually should be Raijin. I don't know why I still have Kaliga in here. But like Meltdown, Search Alistair, Instant Fusion, Raijin, in response to my own summon, book the problem, they can't respond. Now I'm just free to play. You know, and if something happens, they blow it up after summon, it's just free food for Iogides. So, I'll keep you guys posted. Just because I'm testing with other decks doesn't mean the Dark Magician journey will stop. I am still going to be updating the deck, and I might even include this in the Dark Magician journey, because this can be a place where I can include things such as that of my DDS Dark Magicians, Starlight Rare Dragoons, all of those cool cards, and still use Magician Souls. So hope that you guys do continue to follow me on the channel and follow the Dark Magician journey as we approach YCS Vegas coming up in February. On February 24th, I do think, is when we depart from North Carolina. So I would like to thank you all for watching the video. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. It means a lot to me. It makes me more motivated to keep making these style of videos for you guys. So, without further ado, this is Mike from Dark Magical Gaming, signing out until the next one.